Pittsburgh Trivia is a production of Warrior House Media.
Welcome to Pittsburgh Trivia with your host, Jim Cannon, where uncovering the crazy truth and trivia about Pittsburgh is just the beginning. And who knows, you may even learn a few things in the process. We know life can get pretty interesting around Pittsburgh. Speaking of interesting, did you know that?
Hi, and welcome to Pittsburgh Trivia, an interactive trivia show where we test your knowledge of all things Pittsburgh and the surrounding region. I'm your host, Jim Cannon. Thank you for joining me. Hey, if you're a frequent listener, thanks for your continued support. And if you're new to the show, welcome. If you're catching the episode from the website, you can see the links at the bottom to the various listening platforms on which the show is available. And if you're already on one of these platforms, well, you figured it out. Let's go over how the show works, and then we'll dive into the fun. There are 2 rounds of 5 questions each. I'll read a question, pause for a few seconds to let you think about it, then move on to the next question. At the end of each round, I'll repeat the questions and then provide the answer for each, along with some additional information. After 2 rounds, there's one final bonus question before you cross the finish line. I'll read it, give a slightly longer pause, and then, just like the 2 rounds before, provide the answer and some more information. And keep in mind, with some of the questions, I might emphasize a word or a phrase, and that'll be your hint to the answer. And that's all there is to it. The show is just a fun, lighthearted way for you to see what you know about Pittsburgh. It can also be a great educational tool for newcomers to the area, or people just interested in random Pittsburgh facts. And the best part is, you can download the episodes and take them with you. If you have a long commute, or maybe you're flying somewhere out of the fantastic new Pittsburgh airport, grab a few episodes and keep your brain engaged. With all of that out of the way, let's get into some Pittsburgh trivia. Round 1, Question 1. Charlie the Tuna is the mascot for this tuna brand, once owned by Heinz. Question 2. This is a hockey question. Mario Lemieux made his NHL debut on October 11th, 1984 against the Boston Bruins. This event that set the stage for his career happened at the 2:59 mark of the first period. Question 3. Where in Pittsburgh would you find 2 prominent funiculars? And question 4. This 1967 Mel Brooks film starring Gene Wilder was almost killed off by the studio following its premiere in Pittsburgh on November 22nd of that year. And here's a hint. Matthew Broderick and Nathan Lane starred in a Broadway adaptation of the film in 2001. And question 5. Now, I hope you're comfortable because this is a longer question and even longer explanation. In 1886, Charles Martin Hall filed a patent for a process to extract this common metal from the earth and deliver it in its purest form in a process known as reduction. 2 years later, he made his way to Pittsburgh to seek funding from noted Pittsburgh metallurgist Alfred Hunt of the Pittsburgh Testing Laboratory. What was the metal? And that does it for the round 1 questions. We're going to go back and get the answers. Let's see how you did. Question 1. Charlie the Tuna is the mascot for this tuna brand, once owned by Heinz. The answer is Starkist. Heinz bought the company in 1963, and Starkist was headquartered on the north side until 2002, when Heinz sold Starkist to Del Monte Foods. Del Monte then sold the brand to Dongwon Industries of South Korea, who, as of this recording, still owns it. And question 2, it was a hockey question. Mario Lemieux made his NHL debut October 11th, 1984 against the Boston Bruins. This event that set the stage for his career happened at the 2:59 mark of the first period.
Talking to the net, here he comes, he shoots and scores! Mario Lemieux, oh great, balls of fire!
Just under 3 minutes into the first period of his first shift in his first NHL game, Mario Lemieux scored his first goal. He stole the puck out of the air from legendary defenseman Ray Bourque, cruised down the ice, and planted the puck. And question 3, where in Pittsburgh would you find 2 prominent funiculars? The answer is, you would find them on Mount Washington, and you would call them the Monongahela and Duquesne Inclines. A funicular is that's the word for a cable railway that transports people up and down hills. Now, Pittsburgh used to have over 20 of them actively operating, but over the years, because of the proliferation of privately owned automobiles, the inclines went away, sadly. But we still have 2 remaining. And question 4. This 1967 Mel Brooks film starring Gene Wilder was almost killed off by the studio following its premiere in Pittsburgh, November 22nd of that year. And I gave you a hint, Matthew Broderick and Nathan Lane both starred in the Broadway adaptation of the film in 2001. The answer is The Producers. The film premiered in Pittsburgh, but the audience reaction was so negative due to the subject matter and the dark humor, the studio told Brooks they were going to stick the movie on the shelf, and that was it. British actor Peter Sellers, best known for his roles in the Pink Panther movies, saw the film a few months later and ended up paying himself to run ads promoting the film. And the movie was saved, and the rest is history. And the last question of the round, question 5. In 1886, Charles Martin Hall filed a patent for a process to extract this common metal from the earth and deliver it in its purest form, in a process known as reduction. 2 years later, he made his way to Pittsburgh to seek funding from noted Pittsburgh metallurgist Alfred Hunt of the Pittsburgh Testing Laboratory. What was the metal? It was aluminum. And you might be asking, all right, what's the big deal about his reduction method to extract aluminum? Well, until that point, producing aluminum had been a much more complicated and very costly process. It made the commodity really expensive, which then tended to limit its use. If you can't afford to buy it, you can't use it. Hunt's method basically made it much easier, quicker, and cheaper, which was the key, to produce aluminum on a commercial scale. The process Hunt is known for was also discovered at about the same time by a Frenchman named Paul Héroult, and it has come to be known as the Hall-Héroult process. Now, when Hall got to Pittsburgh to raise the money, he teamed up with a bunch of guys from some local steel companies, and they founded the Pittsburgh Reduction Company, later renamed the Aluminum Company of America, which we now know as, everybody say it together, Alcoa. All right, that does it for round 1. There were some pretty meaty questions in that round. We had some history, little vocabulary, good mix of topics. Well, round 2 promises to be equally challenging, so sit back, take a breather, and since you're taking a break, here's a little Pittsburgh trivia PSA for you. If you have any Pittsburgh-related trivia that might be interesting for other listeners, send it our way. You can contact us through the website at pittsburghtriviapodcast.com. And just know, we need verifiable trivia, something that can be fact-checked and backed up. The research for this show is pretty thorough, but we pride ourselves on delivering accurate information. And who knows, if you send us something, we might use it, and then you will forever be part of the Internet Matrix. Okay, I hope you're rested, hydrated, and in Pittsburgh mode, because here we go with the next round of questions. Round 2, question 1. Unofficially existing since 1758, Formalized in 1816, this official crest or coat of arms features 3 eagles, a fortress, and a face à chaquette d'argent et d'azur, or in English, a blue and white checkerboard. Question 2. The William S. Moorhead Building, located at the corner of Liberty and Grant Avenues, is better known by this more generic name, simply the what building? Question 3. This is a multiple choice question. How many major films shot in Pittsburgh have received Academy Awards? Is it 5, 12, or 15? And question 4. Guess what? It's another multiple choice question. And this is about business. Every year, Fortune magazine publishes its list of the 500 largest corporations or companies in the U.S. How many Fortune 500 companies are currently headquartered in Pittsburgh? Not the region, but the actual city. Is it 7, 14, or 20? And question 5. This one might send your brain into orbit on a cosmic quest for the answer. So let's launch into it. You ready? Brashear 5502, Carnegia 671, Mr. Rogers 26858, Pittsburghia 484, and Alleghenia 457 each refer to what? All right, that does it for the questions for round 2. Let's go back and check the answers. Question 1. Unofficially existing since 1758 and formalized in 1816, this official crest or coat of arms features 3 eagles, a fortress, and, so I don't butcher the French again, a blue and white checkerboard. It is the official City of Pittsburgh coat of arms. It was modeled after the coat of arms of the city's namesake, William Pitt, the first Earl of Chatham. Now, interestingly enough, William the Pitt's family colors were blue and white, while the city had already informally been using black and gold. And in the ensuing years, the city actually named the black and gold colors. It is Bessemer Black and Grant Street Gold. Question 2. The William S. Moorhead Building, located at the corner of Liberty and Grant Avenues, is better known by this more generic name, just the what building? The answer? That would be the Federal Building. And that building was dedicated in 1964. Question 3. This was a multiple choice question. How many major films shot in Pittsburgh have received Academy Awards? Is it 5, 12, or 15? The answer is 5. The first was 1947's The Unconquered, a documentary about Helen Keller. There was The Deer Hunter in 1978, Flashdance in 1983, 1991's Silence of the Lambs, and Wonder Boys from 2000. Now, those are films that actually won the award, but there have been a lot of others that have received nominations. Just a few are The Dark Knight Rises, Southpaw, and Hoffa. Question 4. This was the second multiple choice question. Every year, Fortune magazine publishes its list of the 500 largest corporations or companies in the U.S. How many Fortune 500 companies are currently headquartered in Pittsburgh? Not the region, but the city. Is it 7, 14, or 20? The answer is, well, in the city itself, Pittsburgh proper, there are 7, and they are PNC Financial Services Group, Wesco, PPG, U.S. Steel, Alcoa, Wabtec, and a company called Howmet Aerospace. Now, if you expand a bit and you go with a regional approach, that bumps up the total to 9 by including Viatris in Canonsburg and Dick's Sporting Goods in Coriopolis. Now, for contrast, in 1970, Pittsburgh was behind only Chicago and New York with the number of Fortune 500 corporate headquarters, with roughly 20 companies fitting that criteria. Some are still there, like PPG and U.S. Steel, while others, like Gulf Oil, were acquired, or, like National Steel, just disappeared. But Pittsburgh is still holding its own. And the last question, question 5, I tried to give you a hint when I said it would send your brain into orbit on a cosmic quest. Brashear 5502, Carnegie 671, Mr. Rogers 26858, Pittsburghia 484, and Alleghania 457 each refer to what? The answer is they are all named asteroids. Now, if you're interested, you can grab those names and look up each one, their discovery dates, all the background. But just so you don't walk away feeling kind of spacey, the first asteroid mentioned is Brashear 5502, named for John Brashear. And who was John Brashear? Well, I'm glad you asked. John Brashear was an optician and telescope maker. He was born in Brownsville. He was best known as one of the guys who helped establish the Allegheny Observatory. But yeah, as odd as it might sound, the histories of some of these asteroids are pretty fascinating. All right, I hope you landed those answers successfully in preparation for the last big question. Now, if you're enjoying the show and you want to hear more Pittsburgh trivia, wherever you listen, on whatever platform, please do us a favor and hit the like button. And also consider either following us or subscribing. It's free, and we're really just trying to showcase how interesting Pittsburgh is. So thank you. All right, this is it, the last question. And you'll have to know your U.S. presidents. If it's too tough, hit pause and think it over for a few extra seconds. You ready? Here we go. On May 29th, 1909, he became the only sitting U.S. president to watch a Major League Baseball game in Pittsburgh, and he did so at Exposition Park. All right, that's a little bit of presidential history / trivia. So really it comes down to whether or not you know who the president was in 1909. And the answer is William Howard Taft. Now, Taft's brother was a partial owner of the Cubs, and he'd asked William if he wanted to attend the game. So Taft rolled into Pittsburgh, and he had a pretty full schedule for his 2 days in town. On the 29th, he spoke at Rodef Shalom Synagogue, went to a Yale alumni event, dedicated a fountain in Arsenal Park in town, and watched the Pirates lose to the Cubs 8-3 at Exposition Park, the stadium that once existed on the north side. Now, Taft was back in town the following year, and on May 2nd, 1910, watched the Pirates get their revenge by defeating the Cubs 5-2 in their new home, Forbes Field. Now, the game in 1909 is also notable as it made Taft the first president to see a major league game outside of Washington, D.C. Whew, you made it! I know that last one might have been a challenge, but now you know the history of President Taft and Pittsburgh baseball. See, you're not going to get that anywhere else. I hope you had some fun and learned a few new things about Pittsburgh. And again, if you have some cool or oddball trivia, let us know and we'll see if we can make it work. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
What? You're never gonna believe this. We'll leave that nugget for next time. So if you want more wacky Pittsburgh trivia, be sure to subscribe and we'll invite you back to our next episode. But if you just can't wait, visit our website at pittsburghtriviapodcast.com, where we think Pittsburgh trivia isn't trivial.